All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Amuna. I pray everybody is doing well. I pray everybody conversation. Here I am. Here I am in the evening hour with the lower voice, about to go into this King Saul part. What is this? 4. Did he hate David? So for those who just joined us, this is the 4th part of this conversation, just really looking into the story of King David and Saul, and really using it as a template, because it's something that everyone has in their homes, right? For looking at how we go about putting stories back together, right? How we go about getting the background that we need in order to get a greater understanding, right? And I always promote doing this in your own life. And sometimes people ask me, Hamuna, how do you go about that? And we see that this particular story is giving us context. It's helping us to understand. Let me go ahead and fix this thing over here on Facebook. It's helping us to understand what was going on in the story before King David came in, what was even going on in the storyline before Saul came into the conversation, right? So by the time David come in right now, we're going to be on chapter 19. So by the time David comes into the story, things have gone left, right? So it is, again, like I said, this is very helpful when we're trying to move the narrative forward and not just piecemealing. When David came in, Saul hated David. There was a lot of stuff that was going on before that. Maybe David is also, maybe might symbolize you in your life or someone you know. By the time you come into the story, you come in at a bad time. You know what I mean? It's funny, but it's not funny, because a lot of people struggle and suffer in life, and that's the not funny part, because of when and how they came into a storyline with your parents, with your grandparents. I should have brought me some water, because this is what happens at night, peoples. With your grandparents, your neighbors, whoever it is, there's already something going on. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get my water real quick so that my voice doesn't sound so crazy. And then we're going to jump into it. Hold on one second. You ever, back in the day, your parents or someone used to watch the soap operas, but you have no idea what's going on? And back in the day, before there was DVRs and all that stuff, the elders used to say, watch, if we were home, tell me what happened. But you don't know who is who. You don't know the backstory. And then it gets confusion. So like I said, imagine that confusion is you. You come into the story, you watching the soap opera, you were part of the soap opera, but you don't know what's going on. Right? So it's very important to get these answers if we have the opportunity to do so. So we're going to jump in. So far, it's been crazy. Saul is trying to set David up. David, he done shot after him in today's term, while he was playing the harp, trying to get the evil spirit off of him. Saul is feeling as though David is his problem. So at this point, Saul wants him out of here. He wants David gone. Okay. And he's figuring that he was going to get him to go do a kamikaze mission and have the Philistines finish him off. But that didn't happen. So now Saul said he was going to give his daughter to David to be a snare, right? All of these are your kinsmen. I mean, this guy is your kinsman. He is your neighbor's son, right? And people wonder why the narrative unfolds the way it does, and Israel goes in the path that they go. Don't do these things to your neighbor. This is your neighbor's sons, and your plan is to wipe him out because he stepped up and now he's getting too much shine and you don't like it. And so therefore you want him out of there. It's like, what's really going on, right? So anywho, that's where we're up to now. But the problem is that he married Saul's second daughter, which is Michal, and Michal is really checking for David. She really likes him. So this is going to be a problem. We're up to 19. I'm about to share my screen and we're about to get this going. Wait a minute. All right. Hey, everybody. I'm in the spot. Ramona's in the house. Okay. Let me make sure it's flowing over here on what's this place here? Facebook. And then we're going to go in. Now, I warn you, this is not your average. This is not your average Bible study here. So, because I like to make it real. Is it real? We like to make it real. So, let's go. 19. We on 1 Samuel, chapter 19, verse 1. Oh, and by the way, Jonathan also is down for David. So Saul's children, for some reason, they are down for David, which doesn't make it a good look for Saul, right? It says, and Saul spake to Jonathan his son and to all his servants that they should kill David. It's like, whoa, what in all of empire? What is going on? Saul, the king of Israel, this guy, this young upstart, you called him in. It was okay. You tried to give him your armor. You was excited when he took out Goliath. That Goliath taunted you for what, 40 days? He cursed you. He cursed your army. He cursed your people. He cursed your power. Okay. And this young upstart took the shame out of your face. All right. He came. He defeated the giant. And you mad because he got more bars on a song than you. So if you forget, one of the reasons why he was mad is because the women, right? They released a new single, and I said I was going to think about what the melody possibly could have been. It had to be something hot, but whatever the case may be, Saul is in his feelings that David is getting way too much street cred for this whole Goliath situation. So now he's enlisting his son, because he's the captain of the army, right? So he's enlisting his son and his servants David has a price on his head. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David. Remember before, Jonathan gave him his gear. He gave him his chain. It's like, he's the new kid on the team. So Jonathan is conflicted. Like, this is not going to be a good look. Right? And to go against your father, that really means that you really weren't into what he was into. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David. And Jonathan told David, saying, Saul, my father seeketh to kill thee. So he was like, yo, bro, there's a price on your head. I'm just letting you know. There's a price on your head. Okay. Now, therefore, I pray thee, take heed to yourself unto the morning, and abide in a secret place, and hide thyself. So Jonathan, like, again, he's like, yo, I want to look out for you. There may be a storyline within your own family that somebody didn't like somebody else. And so the outcome of the situation, I'm saying this because I've experienced this going through and sorting through my own genealogy, that you'll have someone in the narrative who doesn't like someone for no apparent reason. Or maybe they do have a reason. And they are setting to have the whole collective go against this one person. That person may have been your mother, may have been your father, may have been your sister, may have been you, right? And so the experience that sometimes people are able to connect with David is that black sheep person, that person who has been the outcast, that person is being persecuted and they don't know why. A lot of times David's words connect because it's a similar experience, right? So right now, David has a price on his head. Welcome to those who just joined us. David has a price on his head, and his boy Jonathan is telling him, hey, my pops, it's not a good look. I'm gonna need you to go sit down somewhere. 3, and I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are, and I will commune with my father of thee, and what I see that I will tell you. So he's like, yo, I'm going to test the waters. I'm going to see where his head is at. But the last time he spoke, he told us, anybody he see, you X marks the spot. What part, sometimes I'm like, what are we reading? Because this is the stuff that movies are made of, is it not? Let's continue. And so it says here, and Jonathan spake good of David unto his father. When you speak good of somebody unto somebody who hates the person, it only makes it worse. Jonathan thinks he's doing good by speaking good of David to somebody who's committed themselves to hating him. It didn't make it better. It's only making it worse. He goes on to say, and said unto him, let not the king sin against his servant. against David because he've not sinned against you. I mean, not Jonathan spoke rightly, like, don't do this. Like, what is wrong with you? But that takes a lot of bravery, because there's some people in toxic family units, and I'm safe to say that at this point, Jonathan or Yohanatan, he's in a toxic family unit. His father is possessed by evil spirits, right? I don't know where his mother is. The father wants to use his sisters as pawns. There's a lot going on, okay? So needless to say, this is a dysfunctional family at best. And it takes a lot of courage. His father is the chief. His father is the head of the army. His father is king of Israel. It takes a lot of courage. Like, he had to really rock with David for him to step up to tell his father, right, who has the whole army behind him, that, hey, I don't think you should do this thing. I don't think you should sin against your servant. His father could be like, yo, who you for telling me? You know what I mean? But we the bravery of Jonathan, even in this moment, to be like, yo, I don't think you should do that. Now, therefore, I pray you, take heed to yourself until, no, jump down. We're on 4. Because he have not sinned against you, and because his works have been to thee word very good. So Jonathan is reminding him, like, what are you doing? Don't you remember who this is? Why why would you continue to do such a thing? 6. And Saul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan. Sometimes people are afraid, or even this in our own storyline, people were afraid to speak up for what was right. But in this, he took the chance. He took the chance and he spoke up. But we know in a little bit, Saul is kind of double-minded. He'll say one thing here and then another thing there. But in this moment, he was convicted. And he said, for he did put his life in his hand and slew the Philistine. And the Most High wrought a great salvation for all of Israel. Thou sawest it and did rejoice. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent blood to slay David without a cause? He's like, let's go. Last time I checked, he was over here doing the Nipsey hustle. Last time he checked, all of this stuff is what was happening. He went down memory lane to remind him. Sometimes when people's heart is not in the right place, they quickly forget the good that has been done. Welcome to those who just joined us. You quickly forget the good that has been done, right? And you replace the good that has been done and you put evil. It says, woe unto those. There's a scripture that says, woe unto those who call good evil and evil good. So now what was once good in the eyes of the people are now evil because he got more shine than you did, right? So Jonathan here is being a good friend, speaking well of David when David is not even present. And David is an upstart. David doesn't have any, like they would say, a pot to piss in, or a window to throw it out of at this point. Okay, but Jonathan is speaking up for him. It goes on to say, 6, and Saul hearkened to the voice of Jonathan and said, and Saul swear, as the Most High live, he shall not be slain. So, all of this swearing, people like swearing, but okay, out the gate, he feels convicted and says, he shall not be slain. The chapter before, he shot after David twice with his javelin or whatever it is that he had in his hand. But we're going to see if he keeps his word, right? Because he already put the hit out. So I suppose he's going to call it back. 7. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan showed him all those things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he said, and he was in his presence as in past times. So Jonathan's under the impression that it's all good. It's all good in the hood that we come through. We know in a minute it's not all good in the hood. That's what I'm saying. Saul will say one thing in one moment and then another thing in another moment. Now, is it the evil spirit that's troubling him? It could very well be. You know what I mean? But at this point, he had both of them under the impression that it was going to be all good. And I think I said this in the last one, and I'll say it again. From what I'm looking at, Jonathan and David would be in the same age group. They would be more like brothers. Saul would be like onto David's father, a surrogate. He even took him from his father's house so that he can employ him at his house. So there's a significant age gap between the two, because if there wasn't, how did he end up marrying Saul's daughter, right? So they're not in the same age demographic. So there's a level of reverence, I think, in addition to Saul being a king, there's a level of reverence that's going on here for your elder, right? And not really understanding why your elder would look onto you evilly. So there's some people who have had this experience in their lives and can't understand or fathom why an elder would look onto them in an evil manner. And there's many reasons that can happen, right? But we're going to continue. Here we go again. 8. And there was war again. And David went out and fought with the Philistines and slew them with a great slaughter, and they fled from him. They stay fighting the Philistines. They did it before, they're doing it again. And so David is still showing up to work, even though his boss hates him, even though he put money on his head, even though he's stressed. David is still showing up to work, still slewing people, slew them everywhere, here, there, and everywhere. Okay. 9, he's under pressure. And the evil spirit from the Most High was upon Saul as he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand, and David played the harp. Again? Did he do this again, or did I jump ahead? So here we go again. This is where I say he was busting shots after David, right? And the evil spirit from the Most High was upon Saul as he sat in his house with his javelin, which would have been equivalent to his gun, okay? And David played with his hand. So for those who saw the little skit that I did the other day, this skit is also running around in my mind, and I'm thinking, like, what does this look like? He's over there strumming my pain with his feet. He's over there strumming, and this dude is over here giving him the evil eye with the piece in his hand. Let's see what it goes on to say. It goes on to say, 10, and Saul sought to smite David. I thought you just said you was going to leave the boy alone. Here we are yet again. Even to the wall with his javelin, but he slipped away out of Saul's presence, and he smote the javelin into the wall. So pop, pop, right? And David, he does the street hustle. He does the street drop and roll, okay? And it says, and David fled and escaped that night. So he shot after him, but he missed, okay? And that's crazy. Saul also sent messages onto David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning. He just told Jonathan he wasn't going to do it. But one would say it's the evil spirit. He may have had mental disorders. There was a lot going on here. There's unfortunate to say there's a lot of mental disorders in not only just the melanated community, in the communities. Right. And in some spaces, it says the evil spirit. In today's psychology, some say it's a mental disorder, bipolar. It could be a whole lot of things, schizophrenia. There's a whole lot of mental disorders that were then and they are also now. And without understanding them, we are confused about some of the behaviors that we may have witnessed as children and young adults. Right. You may have been with somebody who, just like this evil spirit that came upon Saul, the evil spirit will come upon them. And 1 minute they're normal, what if they're your mother or your father or your uncle? And the next minute they're doing weird things to try to harm you. And you're confused. Like, it's clear to see that David is a little confused. Like, what should he do? This is the king. It's like, that's your father or your grandfather or your grandmother or your mother or your brother, right? They have some type of standing in your life, but they're not mentally stable. And you love them, but they keep coming at you. So it puts you in this frozen state of what exactly should you do. And as we can see, David is having this experience as we go along. But let's continue. It goes on to say, so not only did he put a price on his head, he sent messages to his house to watch him. They staked him out and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, but if you're good and your heart is good, the Most High will put an angel. He will put somebody there to look over you. In this case, it was Michal. So it was Jonathan and Michal. Michal really loves him. This is why, as the story goes on, it's like, what's going on with David? But Michal really loves him. And she's looking out for his best interests. Okay. She was day one. She told him, saying, if you save not your life tonight, tomorrow you shall be slain. So it's going around the castle. It's on the news network. It's being heard. There's rumblings in the camp that Saul is about to take out David come daylight. So Michal let David down through a window, and he went and fled and escaped. Like, I could write a little drama piece off of this. Like, imagine. Can you imagine? Like, this whole chapter in and of itself is a skit. It is a short story, because she is now going against her father, which, in truth, her father could turn his wrath against her and try to take her out. right? For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. We are on the fourth edition of Saul and David, when they hate you, but you love them, and these complex situations that arise in family structures, in employment spaces, because he's married into this family, and this is his place of employment. So you have toxicity in your marriage family unit. You have toxicity in your employment, and now these things are merged, and it is a big problem. Okay, this is how he eats. This is where he gets his food. This is where he gets his nourishment. We heard he didn't have no money back at home, and so this is where everything is. What is he to do? What is he to do? Let's see here. So McCall is like, yo, boo, I love you. Get up, you gotta go. 13. And McCall took an image and laid it in the bed. She went far. She was like, no worries, I got this. She put an image in the bed, okay, and put a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster and covered it with cloth. She prepped the thing up. She made the thing look like, no worry, you're going to look like you sleeping. We're going to buy you some time, okay? 14. And when Saul sent messages to take David, she said he is sick. So she covered for him. She lied to the king, aka her father, for him, right? She's ride or die at this point. 15. And Saul sent the messages again to see David, saying, bring him up to me in the bed, that I may slay him. So he's having one of his manic sessions. He is not making any sense. Not only did he say, Del Saul is tripping, bring him up to me. He said, bring him up to me in the bed, like bring the whole bed, and then told you why he wanted you to bring the bed, so that he may take him out. Like, Saul, what's really good with you? What is really good? And now David is running. He can't even play the harp to get the evil spirit off of him. It's just low tove all around. It's no good. He wants the whole bed. He wants him to wheel the hospital bed over there and say, see me, Saul is doing too much. 18. So David fled and escaped and came to Samuel to Ramah. Remember, David was minding his business in the field when Samuel showed up. Mosai told him, yo, I need you to go to Jesse, and I'm going to select from over there. So all of this has kind of been a whirlwind from the very beginning. It's, because the way the story is, it's not like he sat and prayed to the Most High, according to the narrative, to be king of Israel. He was out there minding his business. And then along comes a prophet, tells him that this is going to be his fate. And then it has been nothing but whirlwind ever since. So he basically went viral. I don't know anybody who watched like people who go viral overnight, or people who win the lottery or things like that, and how oftentimes it ruins their life because they're not prepared. It's not something that you were working up to. It just boom hit, and then you weren't ready. This is kind of what happened to David. He went viral, okay, and now he's on the run. He doesn't even know what to do. So let's continue. We are at, where we at? 18. So David fled and escaped and came to Samuel, who's the guy who in the beginning, this whole conversation was centered around, to Ramah, and told him all that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went and dwelt in Naioth. So he's like, yo, you wouldn't believe. You know what I mean? Your boy is losing it. He's coming undone. What is really good? Tell me something. So he's over there chilling with the prophet. 19. And it was told Saul, saying, behold, David is at Naioth in Ramah. The people are the same blogging culture, the same Twitter finger culture, the same YouTube video culture, the same TikTok culture. Because how is word traveling so fast? David just ran for his life, and they're like, yo, I can tell you where he at that quickly. So the people talking, that's nothing new. There's not be like people didn't do this in antiquity. Clearly they did. We rounded the end. Tonight's not going to be a long one. And Saul sent messages to take David. And when they saw the company of the prophets prophesying, and Samuel standing as appointed over them, the spirit of God was upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied. So Saul is like, take him wherever you see him at. But now he's coming into the company of the prophets. And he's like, I don't know. It's like telling somebody to run into a church or telling somebody to run into a mosque to apprehend somebody. Like Saul was on one. Okay. It says here, so the messenger started prophesying. 21. And when it was told Saul, he sent the messengers and they prophesied likewise. And Saul sent messengers again the third time and they prophesied also. So I wonder what they were actually saying. It's saying they prophesied, but what were they actually saying? Because Saul, what kind of spirit is on you 3 times? Like this is the 5th time that you're trying to take him out after you said you weren't going to do anything to him. Okay, so it's clear that you need to be sat down at this point. For those who just joined us, we are in 1 Samuel 19. We're going over the history between Saul and David and really taking a good look at why history is important as the storyline continues. And that is the same in our own lives as well. So as we study the text, as we study the scripture, we should be studying our own lives and likewise, so that we can recall some of the things and get the answers that we may be looking for in our own life. Let's continue. Hold on one second. "21. And when it was told Saul, he sent other..." No, I already read that. 22. "Then went he also to Ramah and came to a great well that is in Secu. And he asked and said, Where are Samuel and David? And one said, Behold, they be at Naoth in Ramah. So he's like, forget this. I'm going over there myself. I'm about to find out where these people is at. 28. And he went thither to Naoth in Ramah, and the Spirit of the Most High was upon him also. And he went on and prophesied until he came to Naoth in Ramah." What was they prophesying? Everybody they go into the force field and then everybody starts prophesying. That's wow. Okay, 24. "And he stripped off his clothes," meaning Saul, "and prophesied before Samuel in like manner, and lay down naked all that day and all that night. Wherefore they say, Is Saul also among the prophets?" I got a lot of questions in this verse 24 right here. Makes me want to continue. So let me see how much time. 30 minutes? We could continue. "So was the prophets running around naked? Wherefore they say, Is Saul also among the prophets?" Yo, Saul was running around. Why did you take your clothes off, Saul? I got so many questions. Like, you came to harm him. He didn't do anything to you. This evil spirit is like dealing with you. And now you bucket naked prophesying. Let's go into the next chapter because I'm intrigued. Not like I've never read it before, but let's go. 1 Samuel 20. Okay. And clearly this story is going around town about what happened with Saul because it's in the text. So a lot of the stuff, the scribes eventually write it down, but it's going around town. Okay. 20. "And David fled from Naoth in Ramah." He's like, backside the one Saul there. "Me says, silent tone, I'm out. I don't even know if Samuel could protect me from this guy. He has a killer who's prophesying in the spirit, who has a price on his head and a whole entourage behind him trying to take him out." Can you imagine what it's like to go from the fields, feeding your sheep and fighting lions, to being celebrated, to now being on the run? Okay. "And David fled from Naoth in Ramah and came and said before Jonathan, What have I done?" This is sometimes you may come to the point in your life that there's so much pressure coming from all sides that you have to be like, what have I done? Like, did I sin in a past life? Like, Creator, help me. This is the point that David is at, right? Especially if you feel like you have been a black sheep or an outsider or somebody who can never see your way in life. Like, you come to a point like, what is this all about? What is this all about, right? And again, the answer lies in the things that came before. That's where the answer lies. So David comes to that part and he's like, I don't know who else I'm going to talk to. Let me go to Jonathan and ask, what have I done? What is my iniquity? And what is my sin before your father, that he may seek my life? Like, what is dude's problem? Like, help me to help you. I don't recollect me doing anything to him. There's some people who just don't like you, or there's something else going on. Just like David, you don't know the answer yet, right? Because why would David come and ask Jonathan when David was just at Ramah with Samuel? If anybody should know, it would be Samuel. Because Samuel has the information of what was happening aforetime, what happened before the situation that they needed Saul. Remember, Saul, people keep forgetting that Saul was a representation of rebellion, because the people were asking the Creator for a king, and the Most High was the king. He's the king of Israel. He's the one who governs the people. So Saul, in and of itself, people don't understand. I understand that, like King David and the promise of King David, the whole thought of a man king is sin, in the sense of, this is why Samuel, same Samuel, was so upset. And the Most High told Samuel, they have sinned against me, Samuel. Don't worry, give them what they asked for. Let's pause and get that, because sometimes, especially those who look to the line of David, we sometimes forget the origin story. And when we forget the origin, we don't understand. It's just like parents may have had their beginning story was off. Right? So that energy of when it actually began, because it's off, it has some things. It comes with some things, that some thorns and thistles that it otherwise wouldn't have came with if the beginning wasn't what it was. Let's see here. So that's another important tool to understand. If you're experiencing something that just does not make any sense, we have to take a look at the origin story. Hold on, we have to go back over this. So David is next generation, and he has no idea what all of this is about. Hold on. He has no idea what all of this is about. So 1 Samuel 8. Let me jump over there real quick. Let's hold our spot on 20, and let's go back to 8. I'm going over this because, again, moving through this information, it has helped me to understand my own self better, my own family better, because learning how things unfold gives a better perspective. You have to sometimes back up away from the story. It's not only necessarily about us, although we're trying to get more information about us, but when we back up from the story, then the Most High can give us more understanding. So 1 Samuel 8, what David is experiencing is a little bit of this. There's a little bit of this. Let's go. And I'm going to read this a little straight through, and then we're going to jump back forward. And it came to pass when Samuel was old that he made his sons judges over Israel. And now the name of the firstborn was Joel, and the name of the second was Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after Lucah. They wanted that Kesef. They wanted that Peter Popoff. They wanted that T.D. Jakes, and took bribes and perverted judgment. Okay. Remember, without law and order, the place is going to go into disarray. So you need honest, respectful judges to be able to mediate. Okay. But they were going after to the payola. So that wasn't going to work. And so they corrupted the whole system. Let's continue. And his sons walked not in his ways. Okay, we went there 4. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Ramah. So the elders at this point, if even David is born, because I have to double check and see how long Saul ruled for. Hold on. I like context. How long did Saul reign? 40 years. So Saul reigns for 40 years. So at this point, is David even born? If David is the age of Michal and Jonathan, possibly. What age did Saul come to the throne? Hold on. Saul was 50 years old when he began to reign. It says Saul was 50. No? They say age 30. Okay, I'm going to have to double check on that. So Saul is reigning. I have to double check. If you know, put it in the chat. But I have to double check on that because there's a time gap that's passing. So at this time that the people are coming to Samuel, is David even born yet? It's like at the time that our mother and father got together, we weren't born yet. We don't know what happened when our granny met our grandfather, or what beef could have been in that space that we're now experiencing this turbulence. We don't know. We weren't there. So, you know what I mean? We only come into it and we're wondering, like, David, what have I done? What's really going on here? So let's go back. So to get the answers now, the scribes are writing for us to get understanding of what was happening. But at the time, did Samuel sit him down and be like, son, like, let me tell you a story? I don't know, because he's still confused by the time he goes to Jonathan. So at that time, he may not have gotten the story. But let's continue. It says, then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel at Ramah and said unto him, behold, you are old, and your sons walk not in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. There was the sin right there. People like, where was the sin? Right there. Now I'm going to have to jump backwards for us to see where it is, but we're going to get a little context as we go forward. Okay. So right there, when they made this demand, give us a king to judge us like the rest of the nations, and the Most High says you're not like the rest of the nations, this is when they wanted to be like the neighbor's kids, and things went doop, doop, doop. It says, but the thing displeased Samuel when they said, give us a king to judge us. It wasn't, Samuel was like, what? What kind of conversation is this? It says, and Samuel prayed unto the Most High. Because he's like, yo, these people are bugging. I'm old. I'm about to retire. These dudes is not doing their job. But is this really the answer? 6. But the thing, 7. And the Most High said unto Samuel, let's listen. Shema, or hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto you. When David is asking, what have I done? David is the second in line of a representation of a request that was in ultimate opposition or rebellion against the Creator. So David is having a bit of experience. He's getting a little bit of that, that downstream stuff, right? Let's continue. And this is where it gets confusing, because people are like, but the Most High selected him. But remember, people like to say there's permissive will and divine will. This wasn't the divine will of the Creator. The people wanted this. And he said, give them what they want. So let's continue. And so 7, and the Most High said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee. It's a straight rejection. It's rejection. Asking for a king, David, David, Solomon, Saul, and everybody else, they represented rejection of the divine power. Okay, but they have rejected who? The Creator, that I should not reign over them. So what David is experiencing is the thorn and thistles of the requests of his ancestors. Because when you put man in that position, it does something to the mind. So Saul is experiencing whatever it's done to his mind, and we're going to see how many others have this type of thing that's done into their mind when they get into this position of trying to be king over the people. But let's continue. It says, according to all the works of which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken the Creator and served other deities, so do they also unto you. So he was like, yo, they've been bad. Them been terrible. Them been have no behavior. I don't know Samuel. No what? Give them what them want. Give them what them want. Let them learn the hard way, basically. So it was a concession. Go ahead. There's a lot of people who like they miss this point, and I don't know why, because it is spelled out in this chapter. Let's continue. It says, now therefore hearken unto the voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them. He says, listen to them, but protest. Tell them what is about to happen to you because you are making this choice. He says, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. You want a boss? You want a king? You want somebody in charge? You want, all right, no problem. He says, show them. Tell them all of the things. Remember, why did I come here? Because David is asking Jonathan, who probably was a little boy or wasn't even born at the time, like, why am I having this experience? I came to the point where I'm asking the Creator as I'm going on my journey, why am I having this experience? What happened? If you don't ask, you can't. You're not really gonna. Even if the answer is there, you're not gonna get it. So this is why I really vibe with the questions David is asking, is because it's through these questions that the Most High can say there's sin in the camp. Remember when Israel was getting beat and they kept running down the hill, and it's like, why? What's going on? Why can't they win the battle? And it's like, yo, they're sin in the camp. That's why they can't win the battle. You don't know that. In the same way, Jacob didn't know that Raquel had the idols when he swore whoever had the idols should die. He didn't know. Let me drink some water. I'm getting a little excited because this point right here, for years, I've been meditating on this one. All right, let's continue. We're on 1 Samuel. We trying to get David the answer. David asked the question. Sometimes I know our poor parents don't want to answer questions because they want to cover shame or cover iniquity. But sometimes you got to go back and be like, what happened? Because how do you know what to fix if you don't know what happened? How do you know what to pray? This is when I'm not going to jump ahead. Let's continue. 9. So basically, they was into idolatry. They was doing the most. 9. Now, therefore, hearken unto their voice. Howbeit, protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. 10. And Samuel told all the words of the Most High to the people that asked of him a king. And these were the elders. These were supposed to be the people who had some common sense. These were supposed to be the people who were supposed to lead the people. The elders is coming, give us a king. Somebody Okay, no problem. Sorry, here you go. 11. And he said, this will be the manner of king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons. Did not Saul take David from his father? Did he not tell him, oh, come, let him play harp for me, and then never sent him back to his house? He will take his sons, your sons, and appoint them for himself. Is that not what Saul did? And Saul is the first king. Oh no, my battery is about to die. Hold on, people. 1 minute. Let me get the charger before this thing dies. Hold on. All right, we got the charger. We back. We back in the spizzle. Okay, for those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. We getting the answer. David asked the ask and ye shall receive. David asked the question. Here's the answer. Okay, the people sinned. The people been sinning. This is why you're having this experience. It says this iniquities will revisit them. The Most High will revisit the iniquities to the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate him. So David is having what we consider generational curses. Okay, this is the iniquity being revisited to the 3rd and 4th generation. The Most High is already telling you, he's speaking to Samuel and saying they have been rebelling. Okay, this is the iniquity that's following the people, and therefore it's coming upon the sons and the daughters. And if we want to break it, we have to first understand that this is exactly what's happening. It's through sin, it's through breaking of universal laws and things going out of alignment energetically that's causing all of this to happen. But let's continue. So he will take your sons, we saw that happen, appoint them for himself, we saw that happen, for his chariots and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. Okay, and he will appoint him captains over thousands. He took David and made him a captain, right? And captains over 50s, and will set them to air his ground and to reap his harvest. So what the people were supposed to be having for their own benefit, right? This is now going to one person, because you can't govern yourselves. So you want this one person to govern you. Now this person is going to take all your resources, all your assets. They're going to allocate it onto themselves. They're going to become enlarged, and you are going to be wholly dependent on them, essentially. Where are we here? And to make his instruments of war and instruments of his chariots. 13. And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries and to be cooks and to be bakers. Okay, you're going to be up in the king's palace. And again, he's going to be taking your joy. He's going to be taking your resources, because why? You wanted to see a man rule over you. And in many cases, 9 times out of 10, when any human is ruling over another human in this capacity, the space for error is great. The space for corruption is great, because absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And we see that even those with the greatest intention, when they have this much power and say so, they become like a quote unquote God onto the people. And therefore now it does something to the mind, because human beings, even though people walk around, this is where I might get into, people walk around and say they're gods. Human beings are human beings. Okay, so when human beings try to become gods in this form, it does something. Okay, it does something. But I'll continue. So this is the answer. David is asking what is up with Saul. Saul is this king that they were warned against. Saul is the king that Most High told, at this point, he's the first one, and he's the king that the Most High told Samuel to warn the people, and the people would also include Jesse. Jesse would have been alive, and the people would include David's father, warn them that this is what's going to happen to them. Okay, and it's not going to be good. And he will take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. And he will. And at this point, we just read how Saul is commanding his servants to take the life of someone else's child, just because he felt like it, just because he was in his feelings. Okay, this is the curse. This is why David is having this experience, and then we're going to go back forward. Okay, and he would. Where we at? 15. And he will take the 10th of your seed and of your vineyard and give it to his officers and to his servants. And he will take your men servants and your maid servants and your goodliest young men and your donkeys and put them to his work. Okay. He made David his armor bearer. He made him his personal musician. Why David is having this experience? Because Saul was put in a position that was cursed. This is not a blessing. This is not blessed shall you be in the field and blessed shall you be in the city. This is a position of punishment for ill behavior. Let's continue. And he will take the 10th of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants, and ye shall cry. Listen. Hear what we say? What just happened? David run to Jonathan, who is the prince, who is Saul's son. And he is crying to him, asking him, what did I do to your father? Listen to what the prophet, this is why I'm wondering, what did Samuel tell him when they was in Ramah? Because Samuel, you know why David is having this experience. I'm talking like Samuel, I'm talking to the text, y'all. That's how I get by, I talk to the text. And he says, 18, listen good. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king. I could stop here, but we're going to go for it. What is David doing? Crying out. What have I done? It says, ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which ye have chosen you, and the Most High will not hear you in that day. Saul is talking to the people that y'all going to cry out. This is the child of the people, and he's crying out in that day because the king is oppressing him, and he don't know why. We come into life, we come into story, we come into scripts, and we're having experiences, and we don't know why. If it's a good experience, you may not know why. You may not know the good that was planted before you. If it's a negative experience, you may not know why. Right? Oftentimes, if it's a good experience, you will hear, great grandpa such and such planted this oak tree, because people are proud of good experiences. But if it's a negative experience, if somebody raped somebody, somebody violated somebody, somebody murdered somebody, somebody robbed somebody, somebody stole somebody's woman, somebody committed adultery, they're not going to go around and be like, yeah, when I was young, I had stole your mama from the neighbor. I mean, who goes around saying that? So you may be having an experience, and it may be intergenerational, and you can't put your finger on why does this keep happening? Because oftentimes people hide and cover over their iniquity. And when the children come along, or in this case, David's case come along, he's innocent, he's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and think the world is rainbows and pixie dust. And he comes into this experience, and the elders are not even leading him in the direction that he needs to go. So he's leaning on his age mates to kind of guide and direct him, right? Let's continue. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel. They said, nah, but we will have our king over us. They was like, yeah, Samuel, we heard you. Yeah, da, da, da. Where's the paper? Let me sign. They was like over there, like, whatever. Who we picking? Where we holding elections? It's crazy. And then they said that they may also be like all the nations, and that their king may judge them and go out before them and fight their battles. So really it's through fear. It's through fear that the people wanted a king. Okay. And you were fearful because you were out of alignment. We see how that's all interconnected. You're fearful. The reason why things are not working is because you're out of alignment. And instead of getting back into alignment so that the thing could work, you would rather now get another quick fix that digs a deeper hole. That's what the people were doing. Because the Creator said, from the time I came, y'all brought y'all out, y'all was violating. And y'all still violating. They was like, oh yeah, we got one more for you. 21, and Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears of the Creator. And the Most High said to Samuel, hearken unto their voices, and make them a king, which is Saul, who is now oppressing the son of the people. And Samuel said unto men of Israel, go ye every man unto his city. So y'all heard it. It went to Jesse in Bethlehem. It went on throughout the city. Everybody came up. Y'all heard what it was. Y'all knew what it was. So let's go forward. Now, there's a possibility that Jonathan doesn't know all of this, because the next generation can come along and not know what's really happening, what's really going on. For those who just joined us, let me know how you're doing in the comment section, in the chat box. Let me come in over here and make sure I'm not missing anything. While the elders are still alive, I found that, in doing this work personally, I've found that listening, especially to when they speak, even if they're negative, even if they're stuck on a story, listen, because even if they're not talking 100% straight, you can pick sense out of nonsense, right? And usually if the elder, the grandparent, the father, the mother, whoever, if they're the perp in the story, oftentimes they're going to put the blame on somebody. But just listen. So over the years, I was able to go around my grandparents at different points in time and just sit in and listen. And they would, like, even today, I was going over an audio book, and so I could hear the storyline of my grandfather come to my mind. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Because they're telling you in stories, they're telling you in anecdotes, they're telling you in these short form ways, but there's some nuggets in there for you if you go on this journey of self-discovery, of trying to breaking generational curses. It's not just about cutting everybody off. What's going on, Trisha? It's not just about cutting everybody off. That's not necessarily how you break generational curses. You have to know what is operating in your life. Okay? What stronghold is operating in everybody's life is not the same, because you have to go to the original sin. I mean, I don't want to say like that, but you have to go back to that original sin to really understand what is playing out in your life. But again, so we see David, he fled to Jonathan, and he says this, what have I done? What is my iniquity? What is my sin before your father that he seek my life? Okay. So David is at the point where he's, again, like I said before, trying to understand. He thinks he's taking it personal because, it's personal for him, but it's bigger than David at this point. 2, and he said unto him, the Most High forbid that you shall not die. Behold, my father will not do nothing, either great or small. So you check how his friend didn't answer the question, because he probably does not know. He's just trying to reassure him, like, yo, nothing's going to happen to you. It's all good. Just stop tripping. It's okay. He says, but that he will show it me. And why should my father hide these things from me? It is not so. So again, some people don't have the answers. Some people who we're talking to, Jamal, welcome to the conversation. Some people who we're talking to, some people who we're going to, they don't have the answers. So they reassure you, but you don't feel reassured. They tell you everything is going to be okay, but you're like, I need more than this. because you don't have the answers. You're making me think you have the answers. But he's doing it with good intent because he checks for David. But yo, Jonathan is probably over there like, no, the man crazy. I don't know why he hates you. You know what I mean? Instead, he's like, no worry, brethren, everything I got all right. 3. And David swore moreover and said, your father certainly know that I have found grace in your eyes. And he said, let not Jonathan know this. So now David forgot the original question. And he's like, yo, why are you giving me false promises? Your father already knows you my guy. And therefore, he may not even let you know. So you can't even protect me. He says, but truly as the Most High live and as the soul live, there is but a step between me and him and death. So he's like, yo, he's doing the Tupac. Okay, he come with me. He's knowing that something is going to happen. I mean, imagine David's position. Some of these Psalms, this is why some of the Psalms, I don't just read it casually. David's soul is in anguish. He is crying out. He is on the edge. Okay, he doesn't know who to trust. He's running up and down the land. He can't go back home because he had him out. He can't go back to the palace. Nobody's giving him the answers that he needs. Okay. 4. And then said Jonathan unto David, where so your soul desire, I will even do it for you. Jonathan is like, yo, where you want, man? Tell me, man. Jonathan, where you want? Where you want me to do? Anything. 5. And David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon. And he shall not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go that I may hide myself in the field unto the 3rd day at even. Okay. So a lot of people early on, and people will use this to say, hey, people, we observed the new moon. Look at David saying this is the new moon and this is the problem. I'm like, yo, we missing a whole lot of stuff in this conversation. Yes, this shows that they had new moon observance. Okay. But he's saying, listen, I need surety, man. Jonathan said, ask me anything. He said, yo, I need surety. I need to know what's going on. But I don't trust this situation. He's paro. Imagine what he's doing for those 3 days. What are you doing? He's contemplating his life choices right now. Like, me never should have come out that feeling. I don't know why the man put the oil on my head. No, look for my life. Sometimes when the Most High chooses us, we're going to go through turbulence. We don't know why. We don't know who to run to. We don't know how to make it go away. Welcome to those who just joined us. We winding down. So definitely we are talking about the parallels between the scripture and our lives and using the keys and tools to elevate. All right. Where am I? It says, if your father at all miss me, then say, he's not considering that this guy has an evil spirit. He may have a mental disorder. Whatever it is not well with his soul. Okay. So he's saying, if your father miss me at all, then say, David earnestly asks leave of me that he may run to Bethlehem, his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the family. So they over here having to lie. It's too much. The hole is getting deeper. What is really going on? Now, everybody's getting implicated because one person is not too well. You know how they often say you may have a crazy person in the family or that one uncle or that one cousin that's off, and then everybody around has to adjust to the fact that this person, something is wrong with them, but we don't know what it is. This is the situation that David is in. Remember, he just married into this family. Okay, so he's like, yo, just lie. Just lie. You're not supposed to bear false witness, but here he is trying to save his own soul because he's at the edge. 7, if he say thus, it is well, your servant shall have peace. But if he be very wroth, then be sure the evil is determined by him. Let's not forget, David has a price on his head. He's saying by tomorrow, what did he say up here? He knows he's one step from death. Okay, he's aware that, it is not well. It's not well. It's not because he imagined it. It's because Saul, in no uncertain terms, told him that and showed him. He shot after him with the javelin. He sent people to his house. He tried to murk him in the bed. I mean, Saul is like, he went to Ramah, prophesied naked, tried to take him out there. Like, Saul is on one big time. But again, this is the curse. because these are the things that happen because of disobedience of the people. Let's continue. 8. Therefore, you shall deal kindly with thy servant, for thou hast brought thy servant into a covenant of the Most High with you. Notwithstanding, if there be in me iniquity, David say, take him out. For why should you bring him to his father? David is like, yo, if it is what it is, don't even bring me over there. Do it yourself. David is like, I don't want to say it. Dare I say it? He's suicidal at this point. He's telling his friend to, before you take him to his father, do it yourself. And Jonathan said, far be it for thee. For if you knew certainly that evil was determined by my father to come upon you, then would not I tell you? Jonathan's like, are you thinking straight, David? What is going on? Let's continue. Then said David to Jonathan, who shall tell me? Or what if your father answered thee roughly? And Jonathan said unto David, come and let us go out into the field. And they went out, both of them, into the field. And Jonathan said to David, O Most High, power of Israel, when I have sounded my father about tomorrow, anytime, or the third day, and behold, if there be good towards David, and then I send not unto thee and show it to thee, the Most I do so much more to Jonathan. So Jonathan is like giving him a surety, like this is some life or death type of stuff. David is not trusting anybody right now. And Jonathan is swearing. He says, but if it please my father to do thee evil, then I will show it to you and send you away, that you may go in peace, and the Most High be with you as he have been with my father. Again, they know that David got next, right? They know that David got next. The word is out. David has next. Saul is not feeling it, but we know that they know because Jonathan just said that the Creator be with him as he was with his father, because he knows that he has next. Let's see here. 14. Some of the stuff I don't say because I don't want to put none of that stuff on me. We got to be careful how we read too. So that's why you may be like, why did she read it like that? Because some of this stuff is like, let's go. And you shall not only, what is this? And thou shalt not only while yet he lives show him kindness of the Most High, that he die not. 15. But also you shall not cut off your kindness from my house forever. So he's making him swear like, yo, remember me. Remember me, basically. This is what he's saying. He's like, this is crazy. I'm so sorry you having to experience this, but just remember me. This is what Jonathan is saying. And know not when the Most High have cut off your enemies of David, everyone from the face of the earth. 16. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, let the Most High even require it at the hand of David's enemies. Be careful how you make covenants. Right now, temperature is high. Be careful the stuff you say when you're in a certain position. Okay, now David is agreeing to this because David is fearing for his life. Like he said, he's one step away. Okay, and so they're out here. He was like, yo, promise me, making this covenant that you're not going to harm my family, because I know you got next and this is crazy, but I'm a hold it down. Let's continue. And Jonathan caused David to swear again because he loved him, for he loved him as his own soul. 18. Then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon, and you shall be missed because your seat will be empty. I don't know how many sons Saul may have had, but at this point, it seems like David is like more like a brother to Jonathan. And when you have stayed 3 days, then shall you go down quickly and come to the place where you did hide yourself when the business was in hand, and shall remain by the stone Ezel. So they have to set up the whole schematics. So they had no cell phone. They couldn't tweet nobody. So he's like, yo, I need you to just be over here. So when it goes down, I could send you a sign. 20. And I will shoot the arrows on the side thereof, as though I shot at a mark. 21. And behold, I will send a lad, saying, go find out the arrows. And if I expressly say unto the lad, behold, the arrows are on this side of thee, take them. Then come thou, for there's peace to thee. We already know it ain't gonna be peace, David. How many times did this guy show you that he cannot stand you? But again, I feel you because you don't know what else to do. You can't go home. You can't go back to the palace. You got, Michal is probably like, what in the world is going on? When you're on the run, everybody's telling your business. He doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know what to do. Let's go. But if I say thus unto the lad, behold, the arrows are beyond thee, go thy way, for the Most High have sent thee away. 23. And as touching the matter which thou and I spoke of, behold, the Most High be between thee and me forever. Okay, David, let's see if you're going to pull a Saul. You heard, you promised. This is covenant. This guy is keeping you alive. Remember, this is Jonathan is keeping him alive, and Micah kept him alive. So let's see if he returned good for good. Okay. Although we're not going to see today, but I'm just saying, let's keep that in mind, because sometimes we forget. Okay. He vowed twice. Let's continue. And was it cold? What time of year was this? Was you hungry? David was going through it. So David hid himself in the field. And when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat. Imagine, after you want somebody head, after you came at somebody in this manner, you got the nerve to be sitting down munching, fried lamb and string beans. What's really good, Saul? And the king sat upon his seat, as at other times. It's like, whatever. Even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Abner, what's really going on, Abner? You got to know that this is a toxic work environment. Everybody's probably at the edge of their seat, like, I hope I'm not next. You know what I mean? Let's see here. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought something hath befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he's not clean. And for those who, you know the reasons why a man would be unclean. Either he touched a dead body, he was with his wife. There's a number of reasons that he could be unclean. So he's not thinking nothing other. He's like, he's probably unclean. He'll probably come tomorrow. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan, his son, wherefore come not the son of Jesse to me? Oh, now you know who it is. Like 3 other times you act like you didn't know who it was. Like, who is this? Who is this young lad who plays upon the harp? It's like 3 times you act like you didn't know who David was, but now you're like, where is the son of Jesse? Saul is funny. Anyway, let's continue. Where are we? And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, wherefore come not the son of Jesse to me, neither yesterday nor today? Why do you want someone who you hate to come eat with you? We see this during the holidays, the 4th of July, the person who throughout the year you say you've hated, you put a price on their head, you've gossiped about them, you've maligned their character. Maybe you didn't do the Saul and send actual people out to kill them, but you've maligned their character, like you did not want them to live. Now all of a sudden, because it's a holy day, I told you the dysfunction and toxicity is real, but nothing much changes. Now because it's a observance and everybody's sitting down and it looks bad that his seat is empty. It's not really that people want you to show up sometimes. It's because it looks bad that the seat is empty. Bro, you chased the guy down, prophesied naked, put a price on his head, and now you're talking about, why is his seat empty? Would you want to go eat? Would you want to go eat with somebody who wanted your life? The expectation. So he says, neither yesterday nor today. Okay, maybe he didn't come 1 day, but 2 days? What's really going on? 28. And Jonathan answered Saul. Yo, Jonathan is brave. Jonathan got some chutzpah, man. Jonathan answered Saul, but David earnestly asked leave of me to go to Bethlehem, or house of bread. And he said, let me go, I pray thee, for our family have a sacrifice in the city. And my brother, he have commanded me to be there. They just made up this elaborate lie, didn't they? Share this live, by the way, and press like and share if you're enjoying this rendition of Bible study and getting some value out of it. Sometimes I forget to hype it up. So definitely share if you're experiencing some type of something from this conversation, right? Like, share, and all of that nice stuff. Where are we here? Oh, so he's on the elaborate story. Like, he's yeasting, he putting sprinkles on this story. So he was like, if I have found favor in your eyes, let me go away, I pray thee, and see my brethren. Therefore he come not to the king's table. Remember what we just read in Samuel, where the Most High said they're going to take your sons. So the thought of him going to his father or his father's house is like, huh? Because now the king takes the sons and now he appropriates them for himself. He takes the daughters and they're to his benefit, not to their own family's benefit. So, okay. 30. Then Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan. I would say Jonathan's a brave dude, man. Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan. And he said unto him, you know how people be cursing people and curse their mother? This is not nothing new. For some reason, even your father is possessed by demons, okay? He's not right. He possibly has some mental disorder. But this same father is going to curse the mother. So he says, you son of the perverse, rebellious woman. That's like calling him an SOB. Perverse, rebellious woman? When did his mother become a perverse? Do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thine own confusion and unto the confusion of your mother's nakedness? What the? You see, when this is why you have to pray for a sound mind. What is really good with Saul? Not only is he wrongfully pursuing this guy, he wants to break the commandment, do not kill. Okay. Now he's cursing the woman who bore Jonathan. And instead of, he didn't even curse Jonathan. He's cursing the woman that bore Jonathan. Interesting. That's another story for another day. 31. For as long as the son of Jesse live upon the ground, you shall not be established nor your kingdom. It's now, you're losing the kingdom, Saul. I think Jonathan is well aware of that fact, bro. He already hedged his bets, okay? He's okay. Nor thy kingdom. Wherefore now send and fetch him unto me, for he shall surely die. What part of the game is this? You have some, again, I have to bring it back to us, because if we study in the text, we can then begin to understand our own lives. What part of this conversation mirrors some kind of experiences that one may be having or have had in their own life, and somebody sees you as a threat? Sometimes you have mothers jealous of daughters and fathers jealous of sons because of what they weren't able to accomplish, and because now someone else is coming along that you feel is going to take over. You want to stomp them out in certain ways, right? So this is nothing new. So he's pretending like he's covering his legacy. But Saul, if you wanted to cover your legacy, you wouldn't have done the stuff to get it snatched in the first place. But now he's going to be blaming the perverse woman. He's blaming Jonathan and he's blaming David, but he's not taking any personal responsibility for the things that he has done. Let's continue. And if we wanted to know what Saul did, we were going to have to rewind a few chapters, but not today. So he was like, yo, go get him. 32. And Jonathan answered Saul his father and said unto him, wherefore shall he be slain? What have you done? Yo, Jonathan. I said, Jonathan have some heart. He said, where you go kill him for? Where him do? So he's talking back to the king. He's like, what did he do? What you gonna do it? What you killing him for? What did he do? I guess at this point, Jonathan wants to know too. And Saul cast a javelin at him to smite him. Yo, Saul, just replace javelin with a burner. Saul, stay with the javelin. What is up with Saul and the violence? So he shoots after his own son too. I thought you were concerned about the kingdom. Now you're trying to suit the heir. And Saul cast a javelin at him to smite him, whereby Jonathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger. Now Jonathan is pissed and did not eat meat the second day of the month, for he was grieved for David because his father had done him shame. He thought, maybe Pops is going to do right. until he realized, he was even swearing like, nah, this dude ain't gonna do you nothing. He's just tripping. And now at this point, when he gets shot after, he realized, you know what? Yeah, this guy's off. Let's continue. 35. And it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a little lad with him. And he said unto his lad, Run, find now the arrows which I shot. As the lad ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. And when the lad was come to the palace of the arrow which Jonathan had shot, Jonathan cried after the lad and said, Is not the arrow beyond thee? So David his belly button probably dropped out at that point. He's like, yo, what is this? What has become of his life? Now he's homeless. What we don't understand, David is homeless at this point. He's over here encamping in the bush, waiting for a word, and he just realized he can't go back, quote unquote, home, to no home. So basically he's homeless. Let's go. And Jonathan cried after the lad, Make speed, haste, stay not. And Jonathan's lad gathered up the arrows and came to his master. So 39. But the lad knew not anything. Only Jonathan and David knew the matter. Sometimes people talk in code. Sometimes people in your family know. And they could be speaking right in front of you when you were growing up or even in your adulthood. But because you're not privy to the information, you don't even know what they're talking about. They could be talking about you. They can hold the answers to why you're having these experiences, to how to begin to break the generational curses, to understand what you need to repent for. But they're speaking in code, right? And so you don't know what is really going on. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. We winding down. This is very, very, if you're enjoying, let us know. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, we winding down, peoples. 40. And Jonathan gave his artillery unto his lad, and said unto him, Go carry them to the city. 41. As soon as the lad was gone, David arose out of the place towards the south, and fell on his face to the ground, and bowed himself 3 times. Because remember, he just saved his life, even though he's homeless at this point and he don't know where he's going to go. And this is where people get perverse, and they kissed one another and wept one with another until David exceeded. Now, to me, in my mind, and I could be wrong, but just in the culture of the Italians, where they move in some Spanish spaces, Hispanic spaces, it may be cultural at that time to embrace, and it wasn't what we assess it to be in this space and time. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that, because at this point he just saved his life. 42. And Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, for as much as we have sworn both of us in the name of the Most High, saying, The Most High be between me and thee, and between my seed and your seed forever. And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. For those who just joined us, welcome. So we had to backtrack. We had to go back a little in time. We see what it's like when you're desperate for answers, but nobody's willing to share. Again, I don't know what Samuel told him, but he felt the need to ask Jonathan. Jonathan didn't have the answers, but what Jonathan was able to do was preserve his life. So far here, we have 2 of the children of Saul who saw something in David and understood that, guess what, their father was tripping. And so that they're going to try to help to the best of their ability to preserve the life of this man. So let's see how David repays them. We're going to have to check that out in another time. Because again, sometimes, and I'll leave it at this, when things happen to us, we get hardened, we get callous, we forget those who did the little good, because it was so traumatic and so much things happen. We create a narrative in our mind that nobody ever helped me, and we forget the little silver lining. We forget the little angel the Most High spent. Sometimes we forget that and let the overwhelming story be that everybody was against you and nobody wanted to see you live, right? And we see that in the case of David, when you go on to read some of the Psalms, the way it paints it is like everybody was against you. But if that was the case, you wouldn't even got through the story, because there were people who along the way saved your life. They did what they could do given the circumstances, right? So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Let me know if there's anything that you would like to share. I'm going to drop this link really quickly, and then I'm a boogie. Let me know if you're getting some value from this here conversation. If you missed it, you're going to have to go back. And if you missed the beginning, just go ahead back to the first one and then just make your way through so that in the weeks to come, you can be ready. Thank you for this. There are relatives of mine who attacked it, Mac D says, and it helps to know that this has been going on since the Old Testament. Thank you for reminding me that God's in charge, not me. Hallelujah. Indeed. Indeed. The Creator is in charge. The Creator is in charge. And that's one of the things, I think that's the value of having this conversation in this way, is that we oftentimes skip over this if that's not the way we're looking at it. If we're looking at the text to prove whatever we're looking to prove, we're going to miss all of these things. It's human nature. Sometimes it's a defect in humanity. Sorry, let me drink some water. And again, I say that to say from the beginning, if we understand the way the Most High set the laws of the universe, is that if we obey, we get the blessings. And if we disobey, then we incur the negative aspects, which are the curses. Okay. And so when something is given, if it's given in the way in which the king was given, we know that starts off as a negative. It started off as a negative because it was something that went against the universal law. So we know that the people were not in the right frame of mind. So the fact that there was a David to rule over the people and there was a Saul to rule over the people showed that the people who requested this were not in their right state of mind. And oftentimes we forget that. Okay. So again, like I said before, David is having this experience because his foreparents made choices. We come from a long line of ancestors who each made choices either in their ignorance or in their arrogance. And we now are a result of those choices. And now when we come, we have a choice to make. But sometimes if we want to get understanding, we have to go back through, how did we get here? You know what I mean? It's like people trying to understand slavery. And it's like, well, how did we get here? Because we're in a situation that does not feel good. Now, some people are like, I'm just trying to survive. I don't really care how we get here. The reality is that we're here and we're trying to survive. But if you want understanding, this is why for the last 100 and something years, people are floundering. Because it's like, not only how did we get here, but this is the way to get out. No, this is the way to get out. If you don't understand how you get here, how are you going to get out, really? So we've had since the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, all the way up into 2023 now, so many different ideas of how to get out of something. But we don't yet understand the position that we're in. So people say, no, it's self-empowerment. No, it's financial. No, it's this. No, it's that. And this is going to get us out. And that's going to get us out. And then we're still here. Even when you leave the country, it's still in the mind. What's going on? All of what I have behind me and more is me saying, wait a minute, man. Something's not adding up like David. Why is this happening? Right? What is really going on? How did we really get here? But just like the Most High told Samuel, from the people got out of Egypt, he said they sinned. They have been sinning against the Creator. So on the way into captivity, the people were sinning. In captivity, the people were sinning. After captivity, the people are sinning. So sinning means that you are out of alignment. And as long as the people collectively are out of alignment, then the blessings, they obstruct the blessings from flowing. And this is why it's important for people when you return, we don't just return in religious rites and rites. Oh yes, I know all of this. Because if we don't change the narrative, if we don't change the story, it'll just keep looping. And you'll have children, your children's children, and your children's children are coming in, and they're like, David, like, what have I done? What's going on? Because you're gonna be on that level to continue to attract energetically the things that are operating subconsciously behind the scenes. This is where the know thyself and the consciousness comes in. I don't see anybody else willing to share any thoughts. Let me check over here on the Facebook side, and then I'm going to Boogie. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Like I said, like, share, and subscribe. And this is just integrating self-help work with the text, because it is here. It's here for us to learn. It's here for us to be reproved. It's here for us to elevate. And learning from other people's experience can let us, like the commenter said, we're not alone. We're not alone. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and boogie now, and we'll see you again. If this was a good time, Monday at, what did I start, 7:45? Let me know, and then I'm going to just have to jam in Mondays at 7:45. So let me know if it's a good time. All right, everybody have a blessed day. 1.